good morning.
Morning. I refuse to be put on the spot.
Who at least you've not seen, like you even wonder how do they speak, and we don't say press conferences is what really, says that somebody's working, but just you don't hear anything or see anything from that docket at all.
I'd have to say the agriculture secretary. I don't even know how he sounds
looks like. Yeah?
Yeah. But one of my leading, she's becoming a favorite of mine is Rachel Omamo.
Is she?
Really, for the mere fact.
This is really good.
This is interesting.
For the mere fact that she has this chest thumping, because when she was doing the scorecard a couple of weeks back, and even when she was doing interviews on TV, she has this poise that's like, I'm in control. And I think that's what you need for a defense minister or a defense cabinet secretary. You need somebody who's in control. You need somebody who can answer your questions carefully, but at the same time not answering at all. You know, it's this kind of protection of some sort. And I think the people within the defense ministry or the defense forces feel that she's actually a good representation of their department. I think she's probably a rising star.
A rising star. One year later.
We'll watch her. Yeah.
Well, I possibly a rising star, but I mean, in 1 year in office, what in the times when we needed her, when Ole Lenku was deep in difficulties and the military is involved at Westgate, she was not there.
She wasn't, and maybe she learned from that.
Yeah.
I think she learned from that. I think that was a learning curve for her. I mean, it was her first time. We have to give her that.
It was the first time for Ole Lenku? No. We blame Ole Lenku, but I mean, he's the guy who stood in front of us and told us all manner of things. Yeah. I mean, we have to give credit for just, staying there and say, you know what, so some mattresses that are burning and straight face.
I feel that defense is probably a very sensitive issue, so maybe silence is golden in that particular defense. I told you, she's
I like what you said
becoming my favorite.
About saying something but not quite answering, but at least you're talking. We have a sense of you're in control, you have an understanding, not just quiet. Because then we're like, okay, do we know anything that's happening? Yeah, but how was your Easter though? Before we get to press review.
Wonderful. Yeah? I caught up with family, caught up with friends. We were with you over the weekend.
Yes.
It was, I've never had 4 days.
Excuse you?
We were together.
Oh, you didn't ask me about my Easter?
We're asking you soon. So caught up with family, friends.
Yeah, so it was wonderful.
Good rest. What about James? I saw him in a toothpick somewhere.
Well,
where were you, James?
It is not scandalous if it was on Twitter. Even it can be scandalous. But yes, caught up with friends. I think that's a beautiful thing. And it was relaxing, doing those things that Kenyans do, just relaxing.
Like a normal person, right?
Just normal people, And yes, it was a good break.
It was. For me too.
And you?
Friends, family, road trip, sleep, TV.
Leave it that. It's actually that.
It's good. I will leave it there.
Yeah,
no more.
No.
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah. Press review. The Standard newspaper today reports injections linked to new HIV infections. So you have epidemic persists in Nyanza while the old infect Central's youth.
This is very interesting. If you speak to doctors today, they'll tell you that nowadays the new infections are actually 50 and above, which is strange. Because it's no longer it's the main. I was speaking to a doctor over the weekend. And she said the main number is from 19 to 30. Then it jumps, and then it goes to 50 to 65, and you have a lot of
new infections.
and you have a lot of 65-year-olds going to hospital and saying, "Oh well, I'm sick," and you're like, "Well, have you taken a test?" And they'll take a test, and then like, you have HIV, and like, how did I get that? I think maybe there's a problem there.
Yeah.
There's a problem there.
Right, and this one specifically attributed to that contaminated medical injections.
Yeah, this one, it does actually.
I don't know. This is a matter of serious negligence, if you like, because the country has tried so hard in the last 20 or so years to not only put HIV and AIDS as a matter of serious national attention and agenda and resources to it. So everywhere you'd go in this country, people are informed. They know how to protect themselves, and if you have HIV and AIDS, how to get right medication, how to eat properly, and whatnot. And so that has worked well. I mean, if in the last 5 years, probably Kath will tell us best, the last 5 or so years, the HIV and AIDS has not been such a dying story as it was in the
It's actually reduced.
It
reduced by a small percentage, but it did reduce, the rate of infections. But to hear that, injections are being given in public health facilities and dirty needles, that makes no sense. The simple things like providing clean syringes to health facilities is questioned here.
The medicine, what are they called? The ones that the patient...
ARVs?
The ARVs. They've really helped, because when we're having that discussion, it's now been 30 years since the first case of HIV, and that's the thing they were saying, that has really helped with the war against HIV, and as far as just reducing those numbers, that now you can actually have a normal life. Before it was, you have it, oh my God, nobody even wants to be near you. They imagine you just gonna drop the next minute. But also the fact that there's just never been a cure yet in the world we live in today, speaks a lot into we're a world evolving, and God still has his place and man is still working hard.
It's true. And I saw a tweet over the weekend, and someone said, well, you're making Viagra, you're making all these, medicines linked to sex, but you're not making a cure for AIDS or cancer. It's maybe we need more concentration on trying to find a cure. There has been
what people are more into.
Well, possibly. Coming back to Earth, and then bring this conversation to sanity. I read a journal sometime in the US that was talking about looking for a drug, a definitive cure for HIV and AIDS. And yes, there are laboratories, hundreds of them, that have come up with certain solutions that they think this could be a cure and a drug. But the problem is the drug companies are not willing to take that up, because the order for ARVs has been ordered for the next 30 years. So are you going to ask the world to stop business for the next 30 years and look for a cure that will give you one tablet today, like Mara, it's gone? So I think it's a whole politics of, resources.
It's an interesting way of looking at it. Because then there's someone who could be able to get the cure, but knows it will make business suffer. And
that's what the healthcare system in general, internationally, is all about. It's about money. As long as it sells.
Should have a movie about that. Should be a movie to talk about.
Your dreams of Alex Sophia. Please take that up.
And that's another story that's there. IEBC under fire as Oswago responds to Chopevu tape. So there's been this tape, and alleged persons talking about the elections and what could have transpired. Did you get to watch Chopevu?
Yes, we did.
Absolutely. In this tape, there's a Mr. X who's interviewing, apparently a person that is Oswago in court, and this person appears to be very knowledgeable about, the ongoings in IEBC, about March 4th, before that, and whatnot. And yes, it makes some damning revelations in that revelation. And Oswago interviewed thereafter said, well, it wasn't me. I don't know that Mr. X, and that voice clearly is not mine.
There's always that, you can always go with that, because your phone, when you're on the phone, your voice doesn't sound like it. It really is unreal.
Really?
It's true. I think that, I think it's a valid piece of evidence. It is a valid piece of evidence. And I think that if you look at the conversations that we're having, who else could it have been?
People in the know.
All
right, page 6, Jubilee and Court row on IDs intensifies. So that also is happening on the other end when, this fresh registration calls came about, and Court has been saying that Jubilee is using this to pre-rig the 2017 election. So this rigging narrative quite never leaves the scene, does it?
It doesn't. I think we have a government of mistrust. Everybody is suspicious of everyone, even if the need for new identifications might come from a good place, an 80 billion shilling worth place, but there's a lot of mistrust in this government, and sometimes the mistrust kind of hinders development.
Well, I think this would continue, and obviously it's going to play out in the political arena, because politics is about numbers, and here was going talking about who registers most numbers again. So yes, it was always going to get into this and be contested in the political circles, if you like, and both CORD and Jubilee figure that, listen, if today we're done with this process and we hear, oh, by the way, there are 8 million people in Nyanza, and there are 1 million people in Central Province, then all of a sudden we have a problem.
Yes.
So it was always going to play in the political circles, and well, I think we'll have to let it, so that they come up with a political solution, because then this is politics. It has very to do with you and me and how we go and identify ourselves and whatnot. Yes, so I think it's the beginning, and we'll have to wait and see how it goes and how it's transacted.
But the question is, I mean, if the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission is the one that will probably oversee this, because I'm sure this is the body that will oversee the new identification process. If their processes are in question already, will they have the credibility to take this through? Away from the politics, will they have the credibility to, register
but they're
18
supposed to
million people?
Provide advisory.
Yes, advisory and the equipment. But in terms of registration, because that is not their role, whoever
immigration department
would come in. But they were very clear that yes, we're coming to supply the equipment because we have it, and that supervisory kind of a role, but not to conduct the exercise in and of itself. So. To watch and see how that develops. Daily Nation today, how corruption paves the way for illegal aliens. So police manning border controls and security checkpoints are paid to look the other way, while crooked officials provide Kenyan ID cards. So corruption definitely, this conversation does go back to corruption in as far as all these loopholes and all these problems and challenges the country is facing, that somebody somewhere decides, you know what, love for country does not supersede this 100 bob.
Money. And I'm sure it's not 100 bob.
It's not.
It's not 100.
Yes,
but yeah, figure of speech. But I'm sure it's like probably 10,000 times more than 100.
But for some, it could actually be as low as.
It could be. Yeah. That's the thing, and that just boils down to making sure that your officers are happy, so that they don't take bribes. I mean, they can save this country if you make a security agents or security officers comfortable. I have a feeling that you'll have less problems like this, and immigration officers, government officials.
Well, yeah, true. You're right. That's something we perform poorly. I mean, honestly, everyone knows that we pay our security officers, the least. Immigration officers, the bosses, walk around, with hundreds of millions in their accounts, and yet someone's salary is about 30,000 shillings.
Exactly.
So this is a question that we must ask.
Before tax.
Yes, before tax. Yeah. So we must, start, looking at how we pay people, in the critical places. Our security officers cannot be the least paid, the least qualified, or the least trained in the society. They must be, very well compensated, not the most paid, well compensated. With the children going to schools and facilities. And also look at the civil servants, and give them, some sort of that, working for the civil service is a service, and the country is taking care of you and your family in a sense. But today, well, that is not the picture.
More reforms needed definitely in the police. But big news, good news, Rita Jepto conquers Boston, thrill of victory. So Kenya is still doing amazing stuff. And this, of course, coming after last year's bombing there. So Boston strong as well has been trending. But awesome stuff for Kenya as another Kenyan headed for big league football. Maybe James can comment on story number page 3. Who's a Kenyan heading?
All right, Divock Origi. He plays for French club. Might sign. It's a bit, right there. But I mean, he's an interesting talent in the French. He's young, he's athletic, and yes, we crossed the barrier already when we got our first player into the English Premier League, because the English Premier League has to look at the standings of a country, so that by the time they still get quality players. So we're going to get I think around number 130 or something, and they have a cut-off probably just before 100 or thereabouts. So this might be yet another one, and we're getting there.
We're getting there indeed. A story that continues from the front page on page 6 is the war of words of Accords, quote-unquote, dismal show and performance in Parliament. National Assembly resumes today. And it's interesting to note that the former Prime Minister will be staying longer.
Yes, another month.
No more relations. I was waiting for the... I thought you'd make it for Luo night.
For Luo night. When
You
is
had
that
planned for
happening?
it.
You know,
Sorry.
it's
Or
a
did it happen
calling.
already?
I think it hasn't. Has it? No.
No, it's this weekend.
It's
This weekend.
Yeah, it is.
Should go.
Well,
Should go.
yes. Staying away for another month, one of our panelists, Hassan Omarino,
Was
flew
prepared.
all the way to. No, he flew all the way to Boston.
Yeah.
He's still in Boston, meeting.
Yeah, you went to see him.
Yeah, I went to see him. I think this is what, in my personal opinion, what the former premier would have done after the elections. Would have given space for this administration to prove, they can
They
do
can survive
things.
without him.
Yes, and they can perform and they can run the government. So that by the time he shows back and comes back, there's a clear-cut evidence.
Yeah.
You can say, well, these guys have not done what they're supposed to do, or these guys, or they can say, well, this guy is the one who's interfering with the work. So I think, it's good. It works. It's more time for Uhuru and Ruto and this government to perform, without distractions, if you like. Yeah. So, well, good on him. I think he also need a rest. It's been
It's a long
grueling
rest.
That's a very long
Especially when
rest.
houses seemingly,
on fire.
It's on fire.
on fire all over the place. He might
Yeah.
come and find it Jamaica.
Build another one.
Will he? Does he have time to? Does
I
he have
know.
he doesn't have his youth anymore. He doesn't have time to build another house. He has
We can show up in the airport.
he has
and-
one more shot.
Yeah.
And that's it.
True. I think that's another thing that probably he needs the break to, figure out. I don't know if he's said himself that he's going for 2017. People around him have said it, that, he's going for 2017
He is
altogether.
good. That's what you do. You don't say it.
The
You
people
tell
around
Kathy
you.
to say, you tell James to say.
Yes.
Yeah, just smile.
Then
You know?
2017, January.
Yeah.
There.
So, yeah, so yes, I think he's part of the things that he needs to do, put his house in order, and as well at it, he also, remember, there's a government in place and those are going to be his opponents. So he also has to be calculative in how he handles, how this government performs or doesn't in the next 4 years.
All right, the Star Jubilee to give jobs energy priority. So government releases plan for second year. About time for that, and hopefully that the second year promises will actually be fulfilled is what most Kenyans will be concerned about, going with the laptops that quite never happened.
It never happened. Yeah. And I don't think might not happen,
The laptops got lost in that plane
that
thing
process.
also.
But we're still waiting on the court order. There is a court order that we're still waiting on to see how that pans
Those laptops
out.
will never
But
happen.
it doesn't. It was one of those exciting pledges that
I know, it was a
were
big
just
one.
exciting,
But Kathy should read this story on page 4. Soldier sues Omamo over court martial. It's a very important story for you, Kathy, to read on this
It is an
rising star. Defense Secretary Rachel Omamo has been directed.
There will always be wrangles within. There will always be those issues. But
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
As a,
I'm just, directing you to
that story.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's
yes.
not a bad thing.
She's still a favorite.
Is it Rachel or Rochelle? Because I hear, different stories, everyone pronouncing it all different.
She pronounces her name Rachel, if I'm not
She
wrong.
says Rachel.
Yeah. I would go with Rachel.
Yeah, some reporters
Unless-
like Rochelle.
French.
Wow.
Huh?
That's like, okay. And of course, there's wiper threat over Nyanza Rock Squad as well. Those code wars in the people. And a city bouncer cracks on child's skull over exam.
This was sad.
That's a sad story.
This is sad.
Which points back to the kind of culture we have in as far as exams. It's all about passing the exam and not really nurturing or growing whatever it is somebody's good at. But to get to an extent of, cracking your child's skull, that's wrong. That's beyond. Yeah?
I think it boils down to that debate, to beat or not to beat. Because most of the time when you hit your child, I'm not saying that, I was beaten as a child, but...
Who wasn't?
But there's a level nowadays, it seems that parents are just frustrated because you have parents burning their children for stealing 5 shillings or, completely like ripping their backs with whips just because they took some money. Or there was one case where he was actually, his whole body was burnt. And it's just, there's some sort of frustration that just is not right.
Yeah.
Okay. It shouldn't be
It's not
accepted.
Unacceptable. Thank you, Kathy, for joining us. It's going to be a short week again.
Yes.
No, today's Tuesday. Someone would think, I love
4
my
days.
job. Want to take a short break to remind you our question of the day today. We're engaging with you. It's 1 year since the cabinet secretaries came into office. Recently, we had them talking about what they say they have achieved over the past year. But who would you rank highest? Who's your best of the best? We had earlier from a story quite a number of them, including a person who were talking about the cabinet secretary of finance being their favorite, and I wondered how that ranking happened. But hey, it's up to you. Tell us your thoughts. 22155 at James Smart, at Sophia Wanuna.